Hello students. So let's review multiplying rational numbers. So to multiply rational numbers, we use the same rules for signs as you use when you multiply integers. And what are those rules? So if you're multiplying two numbers with the same sign, the answer is positive. If you're multiplying numbers with different signs, the answer is negative. So pretty easy to remember. So a positive times a positive will get you a positive. A negative times a negative will get you a positive. And negative times a positive will get you a negative. And of course, when you multiply a positive and a negative, that will give you an answer of a negative. So remember, same sign, it's a positive, different signs is a negative. Also, one thing to remember is when we're multiplying decimals. So when you're multiplying decimals, we multiply like it's like whole numbers, all right? Then count the decimal places in the problem. So for here, we have 1, 2, and we got 1. So 2 decimal places for our first number and another decimal place for our second number. Then when you add them up, we have a total of 3 decimal places. So that's the third step. You put the same number of places behind the decimal in the product. So we got from right to left 1, 2, and 3. And this is where the answer is. Okay, so let's start. So for our first problem, let's start with, let me move this up. Okay, so for our first problem, let's start with something easy. We have 2/5 times a negative 3 1/3. Now remember, when you have a mixed number, it's easier when you change the mixed number into a improper fraction. Okay, so we have 2/5 times 3 times 3 times 3 is 9. 9 plus 1 is 10. So it's a negative 10 over 3. We keep the same denominator. Now, I'm going to apply the strategy of cross-simplifying. So be sure to watch that video. The numerator and its opposite denominator, let me simplify. So what number can I divide into 10 and 5 evenly? And absolutely, it's 5. So we divide by by 5, we divide by 5. Now, 5 divided by 5 is 1. Negative 10 divided by 5, and that's going to be a negative 2. Now, can we simplify 2 and 3? No, we cannot. So we just need to multiply straight across now. What's 2 times negative 2? The signs are different. So it's a negative 4 over, what's 1 times 3? 3. Or if you want to change this to a mixed number, 3 can go into 4 how many times? 1 time. Left over is 1. And we keep the same denominator, which is 3. And don't forget the sign, negative. So these will be, so either of these two would be our final answer. Okay, so let's try number 2. So we have negative 2/3 times 3/4 times negative 1/2. Now, I'm going to apply cross-canceling or cross-simplifying. Okay, make it easier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do these two things first. All right, so I'm going to do this 2 first. Now, if I do this, I need to think about the numerator and its opposite denominator. So I need to cancel or simplify 2 and 4. So what number can I simplify? Can I divide evenly to 2 and 4? 2. So 2 divided by 2 is, that'd be negative 1. There we go. Because that is the negative. 4 divided by 2, that's going to be 2. Next, what number can we simplify to 3 and 3? It's 3. So 3 divided by 3, that will be 1. 3 divided by 3, that's going to be 1. So what's our answer? Negative 1 times 1 is a negative 1 over 1 times 2 is 2. Now I'm going to bring this down. Oops, here we go. Times negative 1/2. Now what do we say about a negative times a negative? It's going to be a positive 1 over 1 times 2 times 2 is 4. So our answer is 1/4. Now, if you tell me, can I just multiply straight across? Yeah, you can. So this is how it looks like. if you have negative 2/3 times 3/4 times negative 1/2, it's and then you multiply straight across. Negative 2 times 3 times negative 1, you will get a negative times negative is a positive 6 over 3 times 4, that's going to be 12 times 2, that's going to be 24. Now, you need to simplify this. So in order for us to simplify this, we need to think about the greatest common factor. And we know it's going to be divided by 6. So 6 divided by 6 is 1. 24 divided by 6 is 4. So we get the same answer. But I would advise you to do the first method, the cross simplify. It would be much faster, especially if the values are bigger. So let's try our next problem. Now, number 3. Okay, so for number 3, let's try a decimal. What if we got negative 4.1 times 0.09, or it's 900ths. So when we multiply this, let's apply the rule first. Will our answer be a positive or negative? It's going to be a negative because the signs are different. So I'm going to write the signs for the sign first so I won't forget. Now I can multiply my factors. So 4.1 times 0.09. Okay. So when you have this, you don't actually need to write 0 because it's understandable. Now, do you need to line up? You don't have to. So some students line them up. So you can just say 0.09. Okay, so treat this as a whole number. Now, 9 times 1, that's going to be 9. 9 times 4 is going to be 36. So next, we're going to the next place value. So placeholder here. Let me use green. 0 times 1 is 0. 0 times 4 is 0. All right. So then we're going to add them up. 9, 6, and 3. So before anything else, let's count the number of decimal places right here. Let me use red. How many decimal places do we have after the decimal? How many places do we have after the decimal point? That's 1. 1 decimal place. Right? And then how many in here? 1, 2. So we got 2 decimal places. Oops. So how many total? We have 3 total. So that's what we need to put here. Starting from the right, we're going to count 1, 2, 3. This is where the decimal is. So our answer is 0.369. Easy. Now, you don't need to write the 0 here before the decimal point. That's just a placeholder. Okay? So let's try number 4. Okay, so let's try to do number 4. If you have 3 numbers to multiply, you can just pick 2 numbers to multiply first. So for this example, I'm going to use this 2. Now we have a negative times a negative. We know it's a positive. So 100 times 0.05. Now I do not need to write this 0 right here because that's just a placeholder. Okay, but I do need to write any zeros after the decimal point. Now let's do this. 5 times 0, 0. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 1 is 5. Now, anything you multiply to 0 for the second digit would always be 0. Now, if you add that up, you got these values. Now, let's try to count the decimal places. For the first one, do we have any decimal place? None. For the second one, do we have any decimal places? How many? 2. 1, 2. So 2 decimal places. So a total of 2. Now, with these 2 decimal places, let's put this back to our product, to our answer. Starting from the right, we move 2 places, 1, 2 to the left. So our answer is a positive 5. So the answer to this 2 problem is a positive 5. Now, to help you out, you can cross this out. I'm done multiplying these numbers. Now, I just need to bring down my first number, which is 0.23 or 23 hundredths. Now, if you multiply this 2, both are positives now. Remember, a negative times a negative is a positive. So we have a positive 5. So let's multiply 0.23 times 5. Now, 5 times 3 is 15. Carry 1. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 1 is 11. Carry 1. 5 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. Now let's count the decimal place value. Oops. How many decimal places do we have here? Good, we have 2 decimal places. How about for this one? None. So we have a total of 2. So let's put this back into our product. So we got 1, 2. So our answer is a positive 1 and 1500ths, or 1.15. Now let's try to do number 5. Okay, so let's try to do number 5. So for number 5, you notice that we have an exponent on the third number, right? Now, this is what we're going to do. Let's apply the order of operations. First is parentheses, but there's nothing we can do inside the parentheses. Second is exponent. So what does an exponent do? Of course, we need to multiply negative 3 halves twice. So this means, for this case, this means negative 3 over 2 times negative 3 over 2. Now, if that's the case, a negative times a negative is a positive 9 over 2 times 2 is 4. So our answer for this problem right here, let's do this first, is 9/4. So it's going to be 9 over 4. Now, I'm going to cross this out because I'm done, right? So I won't get confused. Now I need to bring down the rest of the problems. Copy that down. There we go. This is times. Now, for this case, are we going to do subtraction? Nope. We're going to do multiplication first. So let's multiply these two terms right here. And highlight it for you, okay? So for us to multiply this, we need to make sure that we change our mixed number into a improper fraction to make it easier for us. So it's going to be negative 3. Remember, a whole number has a denominator of 1. It's an improper fraction. Times 12 times 1 is 12 plus 7, and that will give us a negative 19 over 12. The denominator stays the same. Okay, so I'm going to do this first. I'm going to leave minus 9/4 last. Now, remember, let's cross simplify. What number can you simplify to 3 and 12? What number can you divide into 3 and 12? And absolutely, we can divide 3 and 12 by 3. So 3 divided by 3 is negative 3 divided by 3 is a negative 1. 12 divided by 3 that's going to be a 4. Now, is there any number we can divide into 19 and 1 or negative 19 and 1? No. So we just multiply straight across. Now, we have negative 1 times negative 19 will give you a positive 19 over 1 times 4 is 4. Now, I'll bring minus 9/4 next to 9 over 4. So minus 9 over 4. Do we have the same denominator? Yes. So that means we can subtract right away. 19 minus 9 would be 10. And we don't subtract 4. This is subtraction, so we keep the denominator, 4. So our answer is a positive 10 over 4 changed to a mixed number. How many times can 4 go into 10? That's going to be twice, 2 times. That's going to be 8. What's the remainder? Is 2 over 4. Now, can we still simplify 2/4? Yes, we can still simplify 2/4. We can divide this fraction by 2. So our final answer is 2 and 1/2. Okay? Now, if you started to simplify 10 over 4, you could have. So you could have said, I'm going to do a bubble right here. You could have said 10 over 4, and you say, hey, I can divide this by 2, and that gives you 5 over 2. That's absolutely right too. And if you change this into a mixed number, it's 2 and 1/2. So hopefully that helps. Keep practicing and do your assignments.